in the ancient world continues to lead scientists underground to the buried city of Herculaneum. In 2005, they unearthed a tunnel system whose use long remained a mystery. In fact, it wasn't until the nearly 2,000-year-old deposits were closely examined that their actual function was revealed. The vault served as a gigantic sewage chamber.
The most exciting discovery was that there were still the remains from the sewers. The sewage was down in the bottom, and a thick deposit of it, about half a metre deep for 80 metres length. That gives us the biggest single collection of sewage from the ancient world.
Herculaneum's sewage system offers a valuable database to modern scientists in search of knowledge about a long-lost world. In 79 AD, a terrible natural disaster rocks the Gulf of Naples. Within just a few hours, a massive volcanic eruption wipes out thousands of human lives. Just like the volcano on the Caribbean island of Montserrat in 1997, Vesuvius begins spitting out gigantic amounts of lava and pumice. Suddenly, the sky-high column of volcanic material collapses and rolls towards the valley as a pyroclastic flow. The clouds of ash and poisonous gases have a temperature of 500 degrees centigrade, so within seconds, they burn every bit of organic material to a cinder. The cities of Herculaneum and Pompeii remain buried under a massive layer of lava and ash for nearly 17 centuries. In the course of time, their whereabouts sink into oblivion until a local peasant, Ambrogio Nucerino, starts digging a well to irrigate his garden in 1710. While doing so, he makes an astounding discovery. 20 meters down, he bumps into the remains of a building. The farmer is standing on the stage of an ancient Roman theater with its marble-clad walls, dignitaries' boxes, and bronze equestrian statues. An entire city is waiting to be discovered beneath the vegetable garden. An inscription reveals its name: Herculanensis, Herculaneum. Just 30 years later, in 1738, Charles III, the King of Naples and Sicily, begins one of the greatest excavation campaigns in history, in the middle of Herculaneum. He finances the work from the state treasury and commissions the Spaniard Rocco de Alcubierre to take charge of this top-secret project. The pillaging of Herculaneum begins. Alcubierre knows to keep his newly found position and the favor of the king, he has to produce results. But he is a hard taskmaster and orders his workforce about like a drill sergeant on the parade ground. To this day, 2/3 of Herculaneum are still buried beneath the masses of lava. British archaeologist Andrew Wallace Hadrill, who leads the Herculaneum Conservation Project, has explored Alcubierre's old excavation tunnel.
This is one of the columns you can see tilted over at an angle, and behind it here is the brickwork, and here's the base of the same column, and it's been smashed over by the force of the eruption. Vesuvius is behind us, and the volcanic flow comes down this way. And what you never guess when you go around the site, because it's been reconstructed, is the extent to which the city was destroyed, smashed over, and had to be put together again by the excavators.
The ruins of ancient Herculaneum are located beneath the center of town. Buildings would inevitably be torn down if any further excavations were carried out. Completely unexplored residential areas, the ancient theater and the basilica wait beneath the Earth's surface, harboring a wealth of information from the time of their demise. In 79 AD, Herculaneum is a sophisticated coastal town on the Gulf of Naples. Rome is ruled by the Emperor Titus, whose realm stretches far beyond the Mediterranean. It is a time of affluence and decadence. Europe's poets and thinkers owe much of their appreciation of the beauty of classical antiquity to a shoemaker's son from the town of Stendal in northern Germany, Johann Joachim Winckelmann. In 1748, the man who inspired generations of classicists works near Dresden. As the librarian at Nötnitz Castle, it is his job to show the castle's literary collection to its owner's guests. His employer is a former diplomat with close ties to the royal court, Count Heinrich von Bühnau. The library has become the intellectual showpiece of the nobility, and latest editions are a welcome topic of conversation. Winckelmann has the opportunity to study high society at Nötnitz Castle. It is the Baroque age, but ornate design doesn't suit Winckelmann. He longs for natural grace and clarity. His ideal is classical antiquity. He reads the works of Pliny, Sophocles, and Homer until late at night. Today, new finds from Herculaneum are locked away in a top security storage facility at the excavation site. The head of an Amazon, discovered during cleanup operations, is a most spectacular find.
We know that statues were painted quite regularly in antiquity, but it's so rare to find the paint still in place. And what it reveals is how delicately the paintwork can be used. And you see how especially the paint is around the eyes. And we know that they thought of the eyes as the seat of life, and you can see how the painting just brings those eyes alive.
Back in the 18th century, shipments of artworks are headed for the King of Naples' summer residence, the Palazzo Reale in Portici. Encouraged by his young wife, 14-year-old Maria Amalia of Saxony, Charles III is making plans for an exclusive private museum. With his collection of antiques, the 22-year-old ruler wants to demonstrate that he reigns over one of Europe's most cultivated states. Charles III sees Herculaneum as his own private treasure chest, one that must be dug up at all costs. With each presentation of new finds, Alcubierre enhances his standing with his royal employer. Alcubierre sends hundreds of antiques to Portici, but hardly anyone is allowed to see them. The king keeps them safely locked away. The royal passion for ancient artworks results in the establishment of one of the most significant archaeological collections in the world. The statues, frescoes, and mosaics at the National Archaeological Museum of Naples give a unique insight into the superb craftsmanship of the Roman Empire. Very few of the exceptional frescoes have been preserved at their original site. Many were exposed to the sun, wind, and weather, and are now in the care of Andrew Wallace Hadrill and his staff. Under his direction, broken pieces of mosaics and faded frescoes from the once colorful days of antiquity are elaborately restored and conserved.
The moment you expose a site like this to the open air, an inescapable process of collapse starts. It requires absolutely constant care. If you don't look after the site, what you do is something much worse than not excavating. You subject your site to a second death, a destruction that's actually more destructive than that of the original eruption.
A particular problem for the conservators are the pigeons which have found a home among the ruins.
They have found that this is an oasis, the perfect place to roost. There are so many little holes where they can, in each of these little holes around the colonnade here, they can make a little pigeon nest. And the site had become infested with thousands and thousands of roosting pigeons. Each of them lets its droppings dribble down the walls below. They're highly acid and they're very destructive. And frescoes were being lost all across the site from pigeon droppings.
Falcons are employed to deal with the menace. These natural enemies of pigeons have already drastically reduced the number. Winkelmann's interest in antiquity first takes him to Dresden. There, in King Frederick August II's collection, he makes a discovery which will change his own life and the way the civilized world looks at classical art. The royal court at Dresden has acquired a great number of antique statues from collectors in Paris, Rome, and Vienna, the so-called three Herculaneum women among them. Winkelmann sees his entire passion for antiquity reflected in these works of art. He later writes of their noble simplicity and quiet grandeur. Man's image of himself, he says, is truly the greatest achievement mankind has ever accomplished. To Winkelmann, the statues represent the perfect expression of beauty, a model to be emulated. Alberigo Arequinto, the Vatican's envoy to the royal Saxon court, shows him where to go next. For a man so enraptured by antiquity, he says, there's but one place to be, in Rome. At the Neapolitan court, the treasure hunters are becoming more and more dissatisfied with the results of their 10 years of excavations in Herculaneum. With the help of Rocco di Alcubierre, King Charles III has built up an impressive collection, but interesting finds are becoming rarer. But then Alcubierre asks for an audience to present a find his workers have come across at a place where they have not dug before. It's a small but beautifully crafted statue of a Roman goddess. And where there's one, there may be more. The king shows himself reasonably pleased, though a bit surprised when Alcubierre points to the spot where the statue came to light. In fact, the excavators have discovered a place which will outshine Herculaneum forever and fill the king's treasure chamber to its bursting point: Pompeii.